Time for Flashback. Tracks from the past. With your host, DJ Daemon.
It's the time of the year when the weather outside is frightful, but the computer glow inside is so delightful, where the humming from the cassette player, the crackling fire, and the white powdery snow slowly falling outside perfectly sets the tone for the retro Christmas of an era long, long ago. Just like last year, I have gathered the retro troops once again to get a chat by the Christmas fire going. I'm of course talking about Coreus and the Baron of Dubstep. Welcome!
Hello, we meet again, DJ Daemon, and Merry Christmas.
Hello and Merry Christmas, DJ Daemon. How are things over in Sweden? Has the snow arrived yet?
No snow as far as the eye can see. I'm still dreaming of a white Christmas. How about Norway? Any better luck?
Here, just like last year, we got the traditional cold weather with the occasional chance of snow, but it's mostly ice and frozen slush everywhere. That's perfect for falling over, but not very white Christmassy. Hopefully there will be proper snow soon.
Absolutely. 2025 has been quite a year, and a lot has happened both in the world and in the world of retro. As we close in on Christmas, I have prepared a slew of things to discuss.
I completely agree. A lot has happened in the last 12 months. I think this is going to be a great one, though, DJ Daemon.
Me too. The Flashback Christmas special has become somewhat of a tradition, even.
Indeed, but first some music to get things going, and then something really special, something that I know that you Coreus love.
Oh yes, this is from one of the best retro games ever.
It's also the first time we play this on the station. Here is White Hair from Jazz Jackrabbit 2. Let's go!
Hey, DJ Daemon, you have had the flashback episodes hosted on Spotify, but lately I've noticed that something has happened to them. They're not available for some reason. Would you care to tell us what's going on?
Yeah, I would like to know that as well. It would be Spotify, this nice service that has decided that most of our content is copyrighted. I have somewhere around 100 emails telling me that each and every episode of the podcast are copyrighted and should not be added to Spotify. They consequently removed them from the stream as well. So if you go to Spotify, you can only find like half of our episodes. And as they were doing that, they also uploaded all the episodes, causing the server to crash. So I would say Spotify is not on my most favorite list of services today.
They're not on your nice list for Christmas.
Nope, it's kind of like Santa has a list of evil services, and that would be Spotify. Absolutely on the naughty list. They get coal in the stockings.
I completely agree. I've had some experiences with them too, but on a different avenue. But I totally agree with you there. They're definitely on the naughty list.
Absolutely.
But the episode have been available up to this point, right?
No, actually they nuked them a few months ago. So I tried today when I updated the so-called RSS feed that kind of tells the services that the podcast is available and what episodes there are. So I said I'm going to give them another try. And they tried to upload the whole thing, and it didn't work splendidly.
And you got a lot of emails from them.
And everyone is like, yeah, you're having copyrighted episodes, we don't like that. And it's like, yeah, well, YouTube has no problem with it. They also have a copyright filter.
But most of the songs that are included in the podcast are like original tracked music.
Yes.
Can they copyright that?
Depends on. This is a bit tricky to answer, but if you take something like Dr. Awesome, which is a Norwegian, like you guys, artist named Björn Lynne, and he has copyrighted his whole backlog of Amiga tunes.
But you have actually a permission from him.
I actually bought it from the site, and on the site it said that it's okay to use for non-commercial purposes. So yes, as long as I don't charge anyone to listen to RK.radio, it's fine to go.
And flashback tracks from the past is entirely free for everyone.
Absolutely. I don't know if anybody wants to pay for it. I don't think so.
It's definitely supposed to be in the public domain. I mean, this is like history and just say it's historical advisory content. So why people would charge money for this, I consider that to be unethical.
Yeah. Well, I won't really criticize Mr. Lynne here. I think he has to copyright the music, but generally, as it's been free on Mod Archive and different sites for so many years, putting him under copyright control feels a little bit like you're coming up with that now?
Yeah, and again, I think it's an important point to underline here is that not all song. It just needs to be one song, right? And then the entire podcast episode.
Yes, Spotify does that. YouTube is a little bit different. What it simply does is that it gives you a warning that this. Then it removes your monetization possibility. You can't sell ads anymore. I don't care because I don't really sell ads, but that's the worst thing. There are 2 other degrees in hell. You can get a situation where it's saying that it's no longer playing in, say, Russia or Belarus or something. And the last thing, and that's really nasty, you can get a copyright strike. And if you get 3 of these, your YouTube channel is history.
You're out, yeah. Yes, well, that's sad in a way, but mostly sad for Spotify, who are missing out on great content from flashback tracks from the past. Thankfully, you can listen to all the episodes on YouTube, and eric.radio. Are we on any other services?
Most any kind of service like iTunes and stuff, and Google Podcasts as well, and also on all those podcast aggregators that generally just send a link to your site to download the MP3 files. So just type Flashback, tracks from the past, and you'll find it.
Does that include SoundCloud as well?
No, not SoundCloud. That costs money.
All right. Well, we'll head into more music. And the next one is Mountain Breeze by Jaren Tell.
That was some delightful music here on Flashback, tracks from the past. time to do some check-in. What are everybody up to right now?
Well, this is going to be an interesting one from me, at least, DJ Daemon.
Yeah.
So, since the last time, I've been diving a little bit into the advanced art of AI and music. But I've decided to take a little special focus into AI music, somewhat in the not trying to use it to generate everything, but trying to use the AI as an instrument, like a complementary source of the total product, whereas I regain the control and ownership of the most important thing about the music, like lyrical, compositional, and arrangement-wise control, that is. And I've been pretty, I'm not going to say successful, but I do have a fair amount of listeners. I also have released albums to Spotify, which is why I earlier said shame on you, Spotify, or not in so many words. I've also released pretty much across all the different services out there, with the exception of Facebook, Meta, and Instagram, and TikTok, and Snapchat. I'm not going to release my music there. It's definitely an option. And unlike you, I am using SoundCloud for this, SoundCloud for Artists. And if any one of you listeners feel like you want to start out with music and releasing music, I would definitely suggest that you start out with getting yourself a Spotify for Artists account. Sorry, not Spotify for Artists. I mean SoundCloud for Artists.
Not endorsed, of course.
We're not getting paid.
It's not endorsed, but I would recommend it because the tools you have available there, it's rather good, actually. So that's more or less like the foundation of what I've been doing. That, and of course, a little bit of private stuff, but that's not worth mentioning. So what about you, Coreus? I hear that you have a lot of interesting stuff in the pipeline.
Yeah, well, this year it's been a lot of 3D animation. I worked, so we were at Edison 2025. I competed together with Alpa in the animation compo there. Me and DJ Daemon, we commented from Edison. That was a fun one, DJ Daemon, don't you think?
Absolutely.
Then there's right now is the 12 Days of Christmas, where on the site I run, the Retro Spirit, which is celebrating its 10th year anniversary. And corroboratively, the site as well is also celebrating an anniversary. It's 2 decades, 20 years. So both of them are, yeah. It is, and I'm the only person who develops and maintains that site. But thankfully, I get help from you guys and others to provide content. So while I remember, thanks a lot for the help you're providing.
It's fun, actually, to write reviews and stuff. I recently wrote a review and some texts about this Mavis Beacon teaching typing. Really a nice game, but it's actually more like a program. It's a little bit of gamification where you can really learn to type faster and more accurate. It's a really nice thing.
Yeah, it's an edutainment title from the 80s where you are taught typing. And you reading that review actually taught me that Mavis Beacon doesn't exist.
That's right. They made her up.
That's mind-blowing.
Yeah.
I was like, I've always heard that name. I thought it was a real person, but I never did a research. Wow, so thanks for that insight. But now my typing experience is ruined forever.
Yes.
No, but 12 Days of Christmas is one game, every day from the 12th to the 23rd of December, and we've been running that for 10 years now. And before that, it was the annual Christmas calendar, which was one game every day from the 1st to 24th. And that also ran for 10 years. So hopefully, if we do 12 Days of Christmas next year, it will be the longest running event that we have had on the site.
It's really cool. One new game per day. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So it's and since it's an anniversary edition, we're focusing on cult classics and also platforms that haven't been on the site before. Like one of them is GameCube. We don't have that until now. And also, I think Mac OS, because Mavis Beacon was on Mac OS, right?
Yeah, it was a release for that platform. You know, this software still exists. It's running on websites nowadays.
Really?
Yeah.
What is?
Mavis Beacon, yes, absolutely. You still need to learn how to type better, so it's a very long-running thing.
Oh yeah, just like typewriter or type racer and all those kind of apps.
Same keyboard, basically.
Oh yeah, well, keyboards haven't changed that much.
No, it's still QWERTY.
But yes, it's and now of course we're doing the Christmas special, and it's also just very hectic up towards Christmas with a lot of things happening, and we've also been planning some things, me and you, DJ Daemon, but we'll come back to that a little later. Oh, and I almost forgot, we have upgraded the Arcade radio also.
The website.
Not much. Yeah, the website. Not much, but the podcasts have gotten an upgrade for the graphical, each of the logos and stuff, and each of the ingress or header images, and the podcast page looks a bit better now.
Absolutely. I mean, it's been a big change, actually. It's looking much nicer. But there are a number of other things. I have kind of sent a list of things that needs to be fixed. Not really big stuff, but, you got your work cut out for you.
Yes, I do. Hopefully, if I have time, some downtime during Christmas, I can get to them. Because Arcade.radio is, while it's launched and people are, from what I gather, like it, there are still things that needs to be addressed. So we'll work on it as time goes by.
So such as is.
And time goes by. Okay, DJ Daemon, you the next song, I challenge you to pronounce the artist on this one.
That would be Gerontel. Not too hard, is it?
No. We already had Mountain Breeze by Gerontel. The next one.
Stimmel and THWY. Is that hard? No. got some interesting news. The big C is back, and I'm not talking about cancer, I'm talking about Commodore. Absolutely, the old computer we remember, the old computer brand we remember. What do you feel about that?
Well, to be fair, there are a lot of the newer generations out there who consider Commodore to be equal to cancer. But I'm not going to talk.
The
But yeah,
Commodore is back after 30 years, it seems like.
Yeah.
I never had a Commodore myself. I always went to friends' places who had Commodores, played Last Ninja, even though the loader and the music was perfect. The control scheme there. We have talked about Last Ninja before, and I freaking hate that control scheme. You can't make any precision jumping that the game requires.
There is one place in that game where you try to jump over, I think it's a log or a boat or something, and trying to match and land on that boat while you're jumping another time to get into the other side. It's impossible, basically. You have to try it, and if you fail, you die, and you have to do it all over again.
And not only that sequence, you have to go back. It's so annoying. Yeah, that isometric does not translate well to a game or a joystick that only goes in 4 directions.
No, exactly.
So, but you have a Commodore 64 DJ Daemon, don't you?
I have 3. I have one that is the C model, the one that looks like an Amiga. I got the classic bread box one. You always seen that when you looked at old pictures of the C64. And I have an SX64, the luggable version of it. It's kind of like a laptop for people that really want something heavy in their lap.
Isn't that the one which is basically a carryable 10-inch monitor?
Yes, that's the one. Looks like an oscilloscope.
Yeah. Oh, I remember those. They were fun.
Yeah, Commodore wasn't the only one trying to build stuff like that, so it was kind of common design back in the day.
Yeah. I remember Tandy, or was it... No, not Tandy. Tandberg, I think, tried and failed miserably with that.
But most of the brands did fail. In 1983, the whole market almost died, both gaming consoles and computers, and a lot of the brands simply went under or gave up. This was because the market was flooded with cheap and bad games. Do you remember which game it was that killed the whole market?
No.
You don't know that? Okay.
Please do tell.
E.T. Worst game ever.
Oh, wait a minute. Yes. I remember that. I still have nightmares about it.
AVGN did Angry Video Game Nerd has done at least one episode. I think he has done 2 where he actually goes to a landfill. And finds them.
The game. Yeah. The truth is that Atari, I think it was, they throw the whole non-sold cartridges on a landfill and just forgot about it. It's been a rumor for many years, but it turned out to be true.
Yeah,
that is true.
But so, like in not really recent years, but I'm just going to say recent years in and make that 10 years. In recent years, there's been a resurgence of platforms that have become available in like mini versions. So Nintendo did that, and the Sega Genesis did that. Wasn't there a Commodore 64 Mini as well?
I think it was like 2.
Oh,
yeah.
Why is this? How is this Commodore 64 that's coming back now? How is that different from the mini ones?
The mini ones is basically emulation. It's kind of something you can do with a Raspberry Pi if you want to. That's with the new Commodore branded computer, which is basically a refurbished Ultimate 64. It's an FPGA emulation, which means it's emulating on a chip level instead of a software level. So it's much more compatible, and it's cooler technology, and everyone who just wants the authentic experience may actually join on that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Just like the Mister FPGA that plays original like Sega or Super Nintendo games.
But to be honest with you, I mean, if you just remember what happened with Commodore, they went under in the 1994, 29th of April to be exact. And the IPs,
intellectual property.
Exactly. That was scattered to the wind. And today, what happened was that Perifractic, a very well-known YouTuber, was able to get hold of the brand IP, so to speak, and he bought it from a company. And now he's restarting the proper Commodore business machines.
Holy crap. So it's actually now in the hands of fans?
Yes. To be honest with you, I'm not super positive to this. I think it's a cool thing that he's doing it, absolutely. But I don't really know what he's going to sell under that brand. It's going to just keep going for years on end, because most of the emulated Commodore stuff already exists. I don't know what he's bringing to the table, really.
Are you getting one?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I'm free. I mean, come on. A fool and his money should soon part, they say.
That's true. I mean, it's focused on nostalgia, and I mean from what I'm gathering, it will, since it's FPGA and it's basically mimicking everything from the original C64, then all the original peripherals would work as well, right?
Most of them will. I think the user port isn't there. They had to make room for some connectors that are modern, like the HDMI and stuff. But bar that, the normal cartridges will work, absolutely. And so will a cassette and diskette drive. You can find a 1541, you can connect up and use it.
But do they have I'm just looking at an image here, do they have added USB ports to the thing?
Yes, absolutely. Modern times, you know.
Ah. Well, yeah, but if you're keeping it, I mean, I'm getting a feeling that it's a replica, but maybe it's not your granddad's Commodore anyway.
No, not by a long shot. It's, as I said, it's FPGA emulated, so it looks like a Commodore 64, and it's on a chip level. Pretty close. I mean, the SID chip is emulated in a proper transistor by transistor way, so to speak. So yeah, it's cool technology, but I don't see that you're bringing something that we don't already have.
It actually is going to lack a very significant feature. And this is something we discussed in the Edison 2023 a little bit with, I can't remember his name on the top of my head, but the one guy from that demo group. We talked to Coreus, the one who told us about, using a hair blower, like a blow dryer, on the Commodore chip to get it to... Yeah, Strident, yeah. Where they use that to provoke the overheating bug to get the special effect they actually needed graphically. And the kind of fun thing is you can't emulate that with FPGA. That is out the window for good.
No,
and that kind of takes away a lot of the fun from Commodore, is that you can't glitch the processor anymore.
You have to you're paraphrasing that interview though, because they actually didn't have the glitch. They didn't intend for the glitch, but when the demo was run, they were 6th or 7th in line, and the Commodore that was running all the demos had been heating up. So when their demo, which was graphically impressive and very intensive, overloaded the chip and created artifacts, so they had to go with ice spray on the chip to cool it down and in order to make it run properly. So it was a cool side effect, but yeah, I agree. You can't get those experiences. But I'm not sure they wanted that experience in the first place.
Also,
there was a lot of other demos that actually used these tricks to get these graphical artifacts as a part of the graphical package, where you wanted the Commodore to be slightly overheating for the demo to actually work as intended.
I don't think that's correct. But
well, we can have a fight about it.
a digital fight.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Commodore 64 is back on the production line. It seems. Any other console or thing you hope they will bring back?
But most stuff is back. I mean, the Nintendo, the original NES, that's a mini version now, and the Sega Mega Drive, and
but that's emulated. That's emulated.
That's emulated, but I don't know. Would you really need a transistor exact replica of an NES? Isn't it good enough? I don't know. What I heard people talk about is basically when you emulate something, it runs slower. So you might be in a situation when you try to pull the joystick and sprite doesn't move immediately, which means it's kind of hard to get a game like International Karate to work right, because you can't make the punches land properly.
I mean, if you're a purist, then emulation is like swearing in church.
Well, the same is true with FPGA. They would say that's also emulation. So I know purists, there are no pleasing them.
Oh yeah, okay. I kind of understand that, I guess. But yeah, for the proper authentic experience, you would need to get a original C64. Are they can you get a hold of one these days?
Yeah, I think so. But it's like thinning numbers. I mean, they break, and there are no spare parts for most of the chips. I know there are some new SID chips that you can buy, but generally, if they break and you can't find what it's called a new old stock, then you're pretty much out of luck with that. So I believe that FPGA emulation, if I may call it so, that's the future. You can't just run old stuff for the coming... Yeah, it's not possible. Do you know how many C64s there were sold, by the way?
Nope.
I'm gonna take a Baron guess, just like when we were guessing on songs on Arcade Radio.
Yeah.
I'm gonna guess 7 figures.
7 figures? How much is that?
No,
Million or more?
That's billion, isn't it?
No, it's 9.
10 million, is it?
10 million,
Yeah.
but you're close. That's not a good one, and not a bad one. They say between 10 to 20 millions. The exact numbers are not known, but I heard like 14 millions or something. And that means for just being that brand and that model, it's the most well-selling computer in the whole world, ever.
The computer?
Really? Yes. For being that exact model, so to speak. I mean, modern computers, if you just think about PCs, that's much more now. Many more, actually. But...
and on this note, in guessing numbers, Baron, I'm gonna ask. Can I ask you how many number of tracks are on the station of Arcade Radio? Do you think?
Oh.
This is not going to go anywhere good.
70,000?
70,000. Yeah.
Okay, wait! Don't say it, DJ Daemon.
No, I'm not saying anything.
Do you recall when we had this discussion back in Edison 2023, Baron?
Nope.
Okay. Okay. Can I guess as well,
sure.
DJ Daemon?
Absolutely.
I'm guessing 2,745.
Yeah, that's a nice guess. You're looking at the stats page, aren't you? That's exactly right. That's it's exactly right.
And I'm guessing it's about 160.7 hours worth of playtime.
Yeah, that means a week actually. So if you would play it, it would not come back to 0.0 for 1 week.
Speaking of songs, do you want to take the next song we're going to play here, Baron?
We will be playing The Final Mod by Mick Rippon.
He's super talented. Good one.
Copyright is a pest, and Flashback Tracks from the Past podcast has experienced it firsthand from the Swedish Green Ball Service thing. It's a tricky subject, and the demo scene is no exception. Here to tell us about how much you can sample before you get into murky territory is Baron of Dubstep. Enlighten us, good sir.
All right. Now, this is going to be an interesting one for most of you guys, because we're going to go into the details about digital rights management. We're going to go into a lot of the murky waters that is called AI. And as a couple of those of you probably have noticed, there's a new phenomena out there that has been pretty much plaguing the hit lists. And of course, again, our favorite service provider to bash, Spotify. And that's called AI music. The thing about AI music is usually it's built upon samples. And not samples as in the usual way we would use them, like for usual mod making, you would sample sounds directly from a song and put them together in a mod plug or fast tracker environment and then record it again. However, this time they actually base the learning algorithms of the AI onto samples, but they use entire songs as samples. But not only that, they also split up songs into various multi-tracks and sample each multi-track lane to train various aspects of the model. For instance, vocals generation, guitar generation, percussion, drums, etc., etc. And the problem here is when you start out looking at the digital rights of it all, it becomes a nightmare. I'm not using the word nightmare lightly, because who owns pretty much the copyright to what is being produced out there?
Paraphrasing from Wikipedia is that AI music cannot be copyrighted because it lacks human authorship, as established by the US Copyright Office. But if you're assisting where human contributes significantly, it may qualify for copyright. So it depends if you're clicking a button and doing nothing versus clicking a button and then massaging it enough.
So back to the question of copyrights and when how it evolves to the demo scene. This is kind of the problem. How much sampling is too much. That is a definition both of where are you? Like, in which jurisdiction are you? Like, geographically, are you in EU? Are you in Germany? Are you in the United States?
EU is in Germany.
Yeah, I know, but still, but still, you have in Germany, you have German local laws, and then you have EU laws on top of that. You can be in accordance with the former and be in a breach of the latter, which is also a nightmare. So it depends. You have to, if you're going to make a demo and make it legal and make it copyrightable, you have to consult with a lawyer. Don't try to go there on your own.
But again, like most demo scene music isn't something that's released as on Spotify and stuff like that. It's on scene.org or Demosue or Mod Archive and things like that.
And thankfully, the IFP and Sono and the record, or should I say, the rights holder interest organizations don't even know how to listen to those websites and crawl them for copyrighted content.
Don't be so sure. Actually, I would say they turn a blind eye to the whole thing, I guess. And it's historically been this way. If you go to Mod Archive and look at their copyright information, they say that everyone who's uploading something is responsible for the copyright, following copyright laws. And that's interesting, because if you search in Mod Archive or any of those sites, you can search for Intergal, which is this intergalactic, you know that song.
Boys.
Yeah, exactly. And you have a number of these. You have Axel Foley, this cop of LA Cop, or it's called. Yeah. It's generally full of copyright violations, and they don't care. yet. One day they might actually turn another eye to it.
Yeah. But
I really want to throw a little bit of context into this for you listeners out there. If you want to go into the details about what we're talking about and hearing it from one of the professionals in the music industry, I would recommend going and looking up, of course, he's not affiliated with us, but look up Rick Beato and his groaning about YouTube almost terminating his channel because of copyright warnings, etc. And of course, he's also actually outing which artists and rights holders are the decidedly worst on this. It's actually a rather sobering listening. I would recommend just going there just so that you're aware of how bad it's for and how greedy some of the artists that most of us look up to really are. And you'd be amazed when he starts throwing down those names. You're just going to be sitting there like, what the hell?
But I don't think the artists are the real problem here. It's the copyright holders, and they may not have anything to do with the artist. So
I'm actually thinking about. I've actually been thinking about, like, for Retro Spirit, we host most videos, or if not all, on YouTube. But in the case where there's let's say there's an intro and there's a song playing, like Ave Maria plays in the intro of, is it Hitman 1 or Hitman 2, the original games? And that's, of course, copyright strike it from here to the 7 layers of hell. And I've actually been thinking about, like, okay, hosting all the videos ourselves on Retro Spirit. But that means that they can't be that long, and there are compression issues and size issues. You can't have 4K videos. Then you would have one video, and that's it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Wow.
Another thing I want to talk about, which really grinds my gears, it's the whole idea of abandonware. If you think about it, simply copyright unknown. There is no such thing as abandonware. It's copyrighted, all right, but no one is really caring about it. Just think about what would happen with CSDB, the Commodore database with all games and programs ever released. Almost all of them were copyrighted back in the day. And some of
it depends, though.
No.
Yeah, but the thing about copyright is the copyright is never perpetual. It has to be renewed within a certain time frame.
75 years.
That's the new definition. The old definition that was in place around the time up until Commodore's first commercial demise, it was, I think, 30 years.
And don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to say that CSDB shouldn't exist. Quite the opposite. I absolutely love what they're doing, and Mod Archive and all this. What I'm a little bit worried about is how slapdash the whole thing in the devil's inness. It's like, no problem, nobody cares, we can go on like doing this. I would be more worried if it was up to me, basically. I hope that we won't get into trouble, but we should kind of be careful with copyright.
We should. We should be very, very careful, but also we should not worry too much about when it comes to, like, abandonware. I would say that abandonware, it has the potential of being a ticking bomb, but I don't think it's actually a ticking bomb so much in the sense that whoever owns the IP to that content, usually it's bought off by somebody who were owed money by the enterprise who made it, or it's been sold off just for capital gains, which is a good thing. And the capital gain holder usually doesn't know what they have. They just have that particular piece of binary, and they just
don't know what to do with the IP. But remember that the music industry is furious. Like it's been like this forever, and with the onset or incoming of streaming services, they got even more fierce because everybody could listen to whatever song they wanted. But in the abandonware, like you have now a U.S. ruling that exempts archive.org, to have games on their site where you can't buy them.
That's awesome. Really love that.
Yeah, so like ER or Heart, what was it? That this hospital game I was playing on Windows 98. Open Heart is the name, which is a FMV game. You cannot buy that. You cannot find it in any like purchasable version at all. But you can play it and find it on Web Archive. And like games are art, music is art, and if it's not preserved, then it will disappear. And this, of course, has a myriad of levels that we're not gonna solve here. But in terms of the demo scene and how much sampling is enough, or too much. You said, Baron, that there's like a level. Just to jump back into the original topic, there's a level that you need to have in order to be original enough. For not to be in copyright territory.
Yeah, it basically means that you need to reach that threshold of originality so that this can consider to be one of your works, not a derivative work. That particular level where it's at, it's defined by, it's not an international standard. It's a national standard by every jurisdiction out there. So it may vary, and your mileage may also vary a little bit with like local variations and local addendums to it. You basically, if you are in a position where this actually matters to you, the best thing you can do is invest a couple of euros, a couple of dollars, or whatever currency you have, in a lawyer to get a definitive answer. That is the most important thing you can do.
Which the demo scene will never do because we don't care. They don't care. And,
no, that's the thing.
I mean, you shouldn't. Like you're not. That's not the territory. It depends, of course. If you're releasing it for sale, that's an entirely different beast. But I think it's time for a song, and then we'll go into AI and the demo scene just to continue on this path. If that's okay. And this next song, I guarantee you it's copyrighted. No, I don't think so. But the game is available. It's not abandonware. You can buy Simon the Sorcerer on GOG, for instance, not affiliated. And this is Simon the Sorcerer, a Dragon's Winter Cave by Select a Novel. Here we go.
Dear Simon, I am pleased to announce that you have been chosen from literally hundreds of hopeful candidates to perform a death-defying but extremely worthwhile quest, for which you will be rewarded quite a lot. All you have to do is rescue me from the hands of the evil sorcerer Sordid. Feel free to use my extremely valuable spellbook and dog to assist you.
right, AI, this much maligned, loved, hated, whatever, nobody is left without a feeling for artificial intelligence, such as it is. A few weeks ago, Flashback, Tracks from the Past, that's the very podcast you're listening to right now, we actually had a AI song, a AI version of Bubble Bobble that we ran in one of our episodes. And it garnered a number of comments and some criticism leveraged towards the show. I actually went to various demo scene Discord servers just to ask them what did they think about it. And the general thing is the demo scene hate AI. Really, it's a very, very high burning hatred against it. They say it's worthless, it's crap, it shouldn't be, and they say we don't worry about it. It's never going to be as good as we are. That's generally the feeling you get from it. And one guy actually blocked our YouTube channel just because we played that one song. So yeah, feelings are running wild.
I can understand exactly why. Although this is kind of embarrassing for me to admit, but when I do play instruments myself. I play the guitar, I play the bass, I also play the banjo. You will never hear that on this channel, I promise. I swear to God, I will not play the banjo.
Thank you.
But yeah, that's half of my confession. The other confession is that yes, I use Suno AI, but just like that listener of yours who blocked the channel, I abhor AI slop.
Yes.
Have you done anything?
Yes, I have. Do you guys want to hear like one of the most interesting ones I've made? I'll just going to play a little bit of the intro. I'm not going to force AI music onto this channel.
This is related to a gaming music.
No, this is more like well, actually, yes, this one actually relates to Cyberpunk 2077, but it's not retro. But I will play it out to you, like the intro, so you can feel a little bit about what it is. All right? And if you get everything right and you have a strong prompt, you can get things that sound amazing. And I will be going in a little bit about that particular bit with this one song. And this one is going... I'm not going to say which one it is, but you will probably have heard this one before. It's just that this one is not... this is a remix of a fairly known one that I love. Here you go. And that is a little bit of what you can get out of AI. And the thing is about all that AI stuff, I like it. Now the question is, should artists worry? Artists shouldn't worry at all.
And we're back. You're listening to Flashback Tracks from the Past, the Christmas special episode that we, for some years now, have been running every year. So it has become somewhat of a tradition. We need to get back into the games and the things that we remember when that we have played during Christmas, either that they give this Christmas feeling or that you just remember that you played this during Christmas and it gave you a long-lasting impression. And DJ Daemon, do you have, like we have every year, we make a list of Christmas games that give that Christmas mood, whether or not it's actually Christmas related or it just gives you that feeling during Christmas that I remember this and it was very fun. What games are you gonna suggest this year for every listener to play?
Okay, first of all, I'm sorry if I'm suggesting the same thing again. I don't remember what I suggested last year. I think I talked about Silent Service, which is not really a Christmas game, but it has this kind of feeling when you're sitting in a dark room and have like red lights around you, like you're sitting in a sub. It's a bit... But no, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm gonna go with Christmas Lemmings, or Holiday Lemmings, I think it was called. It was released in 1994, and it was a short demo. I don't know if there ever was a real game coming out there, but it was super nice with a few levels of lemming mayhem, and of course the music that goes along with it.
Yeah, I actually have insight on the Christmas Lemmings, because this is back in the shareware days, and it often was either attached to a magazine or you downloaded it from somewhere if you had a BBS, I think. And this was the first one. Which year were you?
1994. And I think there was 94. Like 95 as well, but I don't really know. I'm going to have to go with 94, this I know.
94. So it started in 91.
The regular Lemmings, yeah. Mm-hmm.
No, Christmas Lemmings started in 91.
It did? Okay, I did not know that.
Yeah, and then you have Christmas Lemmings 92, and then in 93 it changed to Holiday Lemmings, and then it's Holiday Lemmings in 94 as well.
Yeah, okay. So, but that's what I meant.
So the two first ones, Christmas Lemmings, those were... the 91 version came out as a demo. It had 2 levels with Christmas theme, and 2 levels from Oh No... no
more Lemmings.
Yes. The series continued in 92 under the same name, but with 4 levels, also released as a demo. Every level this time was Christmas inspired, and the difficulty was much harder, or it varied much more, from comically easy to comically difficult. And in 93 they changed it to Holiday Lemmings, which was released both as a demo with 3 levels and a whole version, or a full version, with 16. And the last year, 94, there were 4 demos in the demo and 16 in the whole full version. I think actually, we're looking at the description here, it says that 94 had 64 levels on the menu. So 94 was... I think that's the cover from the 94 game is what you have in the previous flashback episode as cover.
Yeah, actually, it is exactly that. Yeah, I didn't think about it, but it's true. Yeah, Lemmings, such a fun game. If you can't beat it, you can always nuke the Lemmings. Just push that button and they all go up in flames. Really nasty way.
They shake their heads.
Yeah. Oh no!
And then the timer isn't exact on all of them. So the timer just adds sequentially for each lemming, so they don't explode at the same time.
I know. Yeah, I know. And they kind of like you bore themselves into the ground as they are exploding.
Yes,
definitely.
The Holiday Lemmings. Here, I'm gonna send the image on the chat here just to get the feeling of Holiday Lemmings.
Yes. Okay, dear listeners, you can't see it, but it's from the game, and it's a snow-laden ground and Christmassy lemmings that are red. They have like Santa suits and stuff on instead of the normal blue ones they used to wear. And it's also one of the levels has a 1994, I guess. It's kind of the year written as a terrain, so to speak. Yeah.
Yes.
And whoever played this game gave up on them because you can see they have a little 2 above their head. That's the countdown timer, so they nuked them.
It's this. I have submitted the screenshot, so it's probably me.
Yeah, you gave up. You gave up on them. You failed them.
Oh no, you saved 0%.
Rock bottom.
Rock bottom, indeed. I remember playing Christmas Lemmings. Also, the music there, very Christmassy, very cute and endearing, I think. Do you have any more games, or do you want me to continue?
I have one game.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily Christmas themed, but I always consider this one to be Christmassy for me. I do have a lot of Christmas memories from it.
Yep.
And it's actually called Dune. Not Dune 2, but the old Dune.
One of the first RTSs.
No,
not the RTS. Yeah. This is the role-playing game where you actually walk around on Dune as Paul Atreides.
Okay.
I sent the link there in the chat. You can see.
Another thing that the users, the listeners can't see, but we are actually linking to Retrospirit here and looking at Dune, the original game. Okay, I did not know that. Released on DOS.
Yeah, there is something in the game's description which is rather hilarious for us Norwegians. It says, the Emperor has given the Atreides house the rights to manage the extraction of most precious substance in the entire universe, the melange, which is pretty much what we use as margarine when we're frying stuff in the frying pan.
It has a rather nasty death picture here. I'm looking at your site now, Coreus, and he looks really stone cold dead, and it says back to starting point. Yeah. You failed.
That's a common theme here. Have any of you seen the new Dune movies?
No.
Yeah, I have.
I've seen the first one.
I saw the television series. Intriguing to say the least. I'm not. I'm not negative. I'm tentatively positive, actually, because they don't make the usual. They don't do the same with it that they did with Game of Thrones, for instance, and overhyped it. I mean, it's not bombastic. It's actually good, I would say. And they stay true to Frank Herbert, which is also very important that you deal with the Dune universe.
I've seen the first movie, and a bit of trivia there. The ornithopters, which is like the insect kind of helicopter thing, in order to get, if you haven't seen the movie DJ Daemon, I highly recommend it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just for the visual effects, if you're interested in rendering in 3D, as I am, you'll learn from behind the scenes that when they render that motion, in order to get it, because like with insect wings, it moves really, really fast up and down. So they had to render 4 subframe for every frame. So usually when you have a movie, it's 23.96 or 24 frames. But here, for every frame, you render 4 more frames. So in a second, you would have 96 frames, for instance, instead of 24. Subframes to get that kind of fidelity.
And that is why special effects, where you actually take care of that, it's actually makes it rather expensive, but it adds more credibility to the special effects, I would say.
Yeah, it's but yeah, the original Dune. It's the funny thing there is that the first game and the second is couldn't be more different. It's almost like the first one is a fishing simulator, and the next one is a flying simulator. It's that different. So the first one, like first person RPG. The second one is basically Command and Conquer, or the precursor, granddaddy Command and Conquer.
I'm not going to go into details about the second one because I can talk about that for hours.
We know that.
Yeah, we know. But for me, it's a couple of games. The first one is, I'll also send that in the chat once I get it up here. Let's see. It's it's a Norwegian game.
Uh-huh.
It's Interpose Christmas Greetings. And this was like a Christmas edition of Interpose. Interpose is a side-scrolling shoot 'em up, just like Gradius, and to an extent Arkanoid, and things like those games. So you move from the left to the right, or move to the right. You upgrade your ship and stuff like that. And this was Lynx. Well, it was very cat, feline-based kind of universe. And they had a demo or Christmas offering where the evil lab coat Atnas Sualk, which is Santa Claus backwards, have made their own Santa Clauses and reindeers with one goal: take over the North Pole and send all Christmas presents where the pepper grows, which means basically to hell.
Okay.
And since Christmas needs to be saved, our Lynx hero is once again traveling in space to save the day and world.
Lynx?
So,
is this some kind of furry thing going on?
Yeah, well, yeah. It's a Lynx. So it's you control like cat creatures in the original. Like if you check Retro Spirit for Interpose, you will see that they were heavily inspired by movies of the time, and one of it is like in the intro you can see there's a line of, maybe I don't have it on the site, but it's a band of soldiers that are like on a conveyor belt, so they're producing soldiers, and all of them look like Sylvester Stallone. So those are the evil guys, and the Lynxes and the cat people has to save them from them. So
Actually, I see in the description of that, just a little trivia to you. I'm not sure if you know it, but it's actually this is actually something that has been featured in Star Trek Enterprise, and because of the ship's doctor coming from the planet Denobula.
Okay.
Written as it's there.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
I'm sorry, this flew over my head.
But yeah, again, evil scientist is taking over Santa's home at the North Pole, and you're trying to save them. So the music is very like cozy, and I forget. I think I did a playthrough of the entire thing, which you can see on the site as well. Another game, this one is not Christmas related, but I remember it fondly. I remember playing the demo a lot. It's Lost Eden from Cryo Interactive. The music here is produced by the South African musician Stéphane Piquet, which passed away earlier this year. We actually have Lost Eden on Arcade, I believe. There's one Lost Eden music or whatever it is.
Do we?
Yes, we do. We have one.
Checking.
And we have the full soundtrack on the site, so I highly recommend listening to it because it's very, very good. You can also buy it on Bandcamp, I think.
Stéphane Pick, according to the notes.
Yeah, Stéphane Pick, yeah. So, and he produced a music to this game, and it's, once I got because it's a CD version, so because it's pre-rendered and has a lot of animations and stuff, and it's weird. It's Cryo Interactive, which was, people from Exos, if you remember those, French. They created Commander Blood. Commander Blood is weird as hell, which is a common theme for French developers and games from France that era. And this is, it harkens back to it, even though it's a bit reeled back, more anchored, but still a bit weird. But the story here is that you're Adam of Mo. You have to save the dinosaurs from Morgus Rex, which is an evil entity, and you have to travel the land on a pterodactyl, which is your friend, and you have to. It's a point-and-click adventure game.
Love those.
Yeah. No. But it's obscure, but it's dinosaur focused and tribe people, and the soundtrack is so it fits the game so well. So Lost Eden is highly recommended. And lastly is Uplink. Uplink is to me a game that you can just play calmly until stuff goes sideways, and then it's not very calm at all. I also remember that the interface does not provide enough. If you look here, I sent you a screenshot of when you have to proxy. So Uplink is a hacker game from Intro. What's that called again?
Introspective software.
No, Introversion software.
Yeah, sorry.
And they made Darwinia, and they made Prison Simulator, and all kinds of things. But this game is not only is it like it kind of mimics the hacker setting in a semi good way. I mean, that's at least at this time it tried to give you an insight of like how hacking would work, even though you kind of click a button and then everything is good, or click button and then hack and then you're in.
Yeah.
But proxy bouncing is a big thing, and the graphic interface would not work well if you had a lot of proxies and you jumped all around the world before your connection went through. The soundtrack here is stellar, but it also one of the reasons is that it has so many well-known composers. Skaven 252 is here, Carsten Koch, which made the music for Flying Tigers, among others, and Time Lord. All of these have contributed to the soundtrack, which is actually also on the site on retro.gg. And one of the songs from that album or game is The Blue Valley by Carsten Koch.
Awesome song, really awesome one.
Yeah, and we actually talked a bit about Carsten Koch and Flying Tigers during our summer show at Edison 2025. But here is The Blue Valley by Carsten Koch from Uplink.
And we are back. We wanted to talk a little bit about good games that feel retro, even when they're fairly recent. And we've all been there, like we've played the recent games, and it just has that feeling like this is timeless. This actually is so good. It reverberates in your body. Like, why isn't this considered a classic? Because it will be a classic in X amount of years.
Yeah.
So, do you have any like that, DJ?
Absolutely. I have two that comes to mind. The first one I actually bought and played. It is Thimbleweed Park by Ron Gilbert, I think it's his name. And it's that same
Ron
guy.
Gilbert.
Yes, it's the same guy that made Monkey Island. And he came back, and this was in 2017, so it's a pretty recent game. And it was kind of like he wanted Monkey Island, but he didn't have the copyright for it, so he made this instead. It isn't about pirates and stuff, it's more like X-Files with Mulder and Scully, and they're like aliens and weird people in a small town. Really, really well done. I absolutely love that game. The other one I have never played, but I saw it on retro.gg as a recommended one, and I looked at YouTube and I loved the backgrounds. They kind of harkened back to what backgrounds used to look in the point-and-click era, but it's not a point-and-click game. It's called Dust and Elysian Tale. And it's more like a side-scroller, and it's super nice backgrounds. The backgrounds are, whoa.
Yeah, that game is made by Dean Dodrill, which is he has single-handedly, except for the music, made everything himself. He's also, fun fact, he's the graphic artist from Jazz Jackrabbit.
Yes, I know that. So it's
nice.
Now it's
I love that game.
Yeah, absolutely. I haven't. Let's see. Jazz or Jackrabbit, I always get that wrong. It seemed to be a really nice one. I never had it because it wasn't on the Amiga. I kind of give it up on side-scrollers when the Amiga died. But it seems to be a super nice game, really good, nice-looking graphics. And I don't wonder what kind of drugs was Jazz Jackrabbit on. He seems to be on all of them. He looks crazy, downright crazy.
Fermented carrots, brother.
Jack Jazrabbit.
Nah, did I say that? Okay.
I was just thinking the other way around.
Yeah, but that's what I'm always saying. I kind of screwed that up a number of times.
Always jazz first.
Yes. Jackrabbit.
Yeah.
Which was
Jack the Jazz Rabbit. I'm listening to jazz, man.
What's
free jazz?
That's he was Cliff Bleszinski's creation. The guy from Epic Games. The guy who made also game Gears of War and stuff like that.
What do you have then, Coreus? Do you have any favorite games that, like modern games, that you think qualifies for retro status?
Well, they feel retro. At least the first new XCOM has that feeling that you remember from the original games, remaking stuff that the original game, the XCOM Enemy Unknown or UFO Defense. Those games were so well, like they have cult status, and trying to remake that heritage is a lofty goal, but they pulled it off.
Yeah, totally agree. Those I played the XCOM new one that came in 2010 or something like that, and it was actually quite good. It wasn't as hard as I remember the XCOM games were back in the day, but it was fun, real fun.
I think it's balanced quite well between making a new game, and it kind of took a step away from that catastrophe avenue that the XCOM game previously went on. It started with UFO Aftermath being like the last good one in my personal opinion, and then you have Aftershock and Afterlight and etc. that became more and more like childlike. And then suddenly came the new XCOM, which went all the way back to the same feeling, the same atmosphere, and the same, should I say, not kid-friendly theme that was in UFO Aftermath.
But they tack on like new features all the time. That didn't really work.
I remember the second game that was like XCOM 2, the old one, and it's like that was the hardest start I ever had. It was a ship that had sunk in the ocean, and you were sending your men there, and there were some aliens, and they shot one shot and killed all the guys I had except one who hid under a table or something. It was like over before it started. That's a very hard way to start a game.
I would say that Terror from the Deep, I do seem to recall it having been nominated and actually won the nomination for being the most obnoxiously difficult sequel ever made.
Terror from the Deep, I kind of liked it, but it was making progression in that game was hard. It was, and from what I understood, I never finished that game. But once you got like upgraded lobster armor or whatever, there wasn't much after that. So you kind of waited a long time. Then you got one upgrade, and then there was basically nothing after that, which was a very anticlimactic thing.
Actually, all you had to do was get like the hand drill, and then you could drill yourself through everything, and then the game actually became trivial.
But it required you to be up close, though.
Yeah, but you just went on top, where you just spotted them with one character that was in hiding, and then you just took one of the other characters from the floor above and just drilled through the floor, and then fell down next to them, and then just kept drilling them.
Oh, okay, so you every time. All right, but that requires you to be relatively close, and then surprise and jump through. I think, let's see. I think the first, I also enjoy the XCOM 2, which was the sequel. It improves on the first formula, and I've been talking and recommending warmly to Baron of Dubstep, the expansion War of the Chosen, because it's probably one of the hands down best DLCs I've played. Because it feels like an entirely new game. Most DLCs is like one short story or a couple and then you're done, or a couple of new weapons. This changes the game into basically, it felt like it's double the length, and it adds so many meaningful things. But it's still in that XCOM thing. You get that sense of upgrades and sense of surprise when there's new technology or new things happening. And there's also a doom timer on the map that goes down once the Advent Tower starts building. You cannot remove it, but you can reduce the speed of when it will be completed. So once that arrives, you need to deal with it. Otherwise, your game is over. So every time you cannot just go there and take a mission. You need to lower the energy barriers and stuff by going through side missions or doing stuff out in the world, and it makes for a very tense nerve throughout the game. And with the DLC or the War of the Chosen, they add 3 nemesis in addition, which screws up all your missions. They can appear any time, and they can suddenly, like when you're landing on a mission, they can just kidnap one of yours, and suddenly instead of 4 you have 3, and they can spawn in new ones, stuff that wasn't either in the original XCOM, the new one, or XCOM 2, the base game. And it adds just a lot of new encounters and stuff to the game. Additionally, there's a mod which was very popular for the first XCOM, which is called the Long War, and that adds another layer of strategic decisions to your gameplay, because infiltrations now take time. So you can't just choose a mission and then fly there and go. You would need to take into consideration the size of your squad. So if your squad is very large, it will take longer to infiltrate, and your opposition will be much larger as well, because the aliens will know about your presence, as opposed to if you're moving in with 2 or 3 people. then the infiltration time is lower, and the enemy resistance is lower as well. And they add a plethora of things just to make a long game even longer. So the first or the two of the new XCOM games, I feel, still have that retro feeling, but wrapped in modern decisions that make sense. I have. Do you have others, DJ Daemon?
Not that I can think of right now, but there are a number of games that are fun to play when you are kind of relaxing at Christmas. Now I'm gonna have to say, I draw a blank here. I told you what I know.
I think if one game series I know you love is Civilization.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that I remember there was one Christmas in the 90s where I spent the whole Christmas evening to play Civilization 1. It was a game where I first started it. I had no idea how to play it. And then suddenly you kind of figured it all out, and it was like, oh God, I need to continue. How should I... just one more turn, you know.
Yeah, just one more turn. And then Gandhi nuked you into space.
Yeah, he was nasty. Yeah.
Gandhi, the most peaceful conqueror and obliterator.
Yes, absolutely. He was the peace president. He should have won the Nobel Peace Prize.
Yeah, it reminds me of playing Civilization 1. So I was playing as, what was it, like English or something? Came over to the New World, started colonizing there, and I had horses, I had musketeers, and I met like robot armies with whatever, something equivalent to that. It was just like the Aztecs having battle tanks just rolling over my units. Like, what the hell?
Yeah, Civilization. Have you played any of the new ones, DJ Daemon?
Absolutely. I played everything up to Civilization 7. But actually, the one I liked the most of the new modern versions, that would be Civilization 5. I think Civilization 6 and 7 never really worked for me. I don't know. It's something that doesn't really attract my attention that much.
But like the core gameplay of moving pieces on a diagonal board, yes, or something, is that still there?
I don't know. I can't remember if it's still a hex grid in the bottom. I think it is, but haven't thought about it. In Civilization 5, you could actually dumb down the graphics so you could see the grid. You just switch to a specific mode there, and it would just show. It would look pretty much like Civilization 1.
I do have a couple of games that I want to mention for like your retro status that are pretty new ones, and I'm gonna actually say the one that really deserves to be mentioned here, and that is Disco Elysium.
Huh?
That one blew me away straight off the bat. I mean, it's like point and click isometric view adventure. Like pretty much any kind of old, I'm going to be a police investigator type of game, but it contains a very, avant-garde, or not avant-garde, I would say Art Nouveau city, which is called Revachol. It's very French Oriental based theme, mixed with like old French architecture. And the thing is, you wake up as an alcoholized police investigator, and there's a murder to be solved and whatnot. But the story itself is pretty good, actually. I would say it takes you for a ride. But not only that, what really, what really floats my boat about that particular game is how you emphasize the skills and how you can augment the thought process and the various conversational opportunities you have, like conversation options, like various things you can say based on whatnot. And that kind of goes a little bit in towards you experience things that you can internalize. And when you internalize it, you get a small you get a small nerf on one of your stats, which is translated into a larger buff on other stats, such as my personal favorite internalization there, Hobo Cop. You don't have money.
Right.
You don't have money, but that doesn't stop you. You can sleep in a container. And that also allows you to pick up plastic bottles that you can tear off and get money for, like pawning. And that way you actually manage to survive the first couple of nights in the game if you screw everything else up. But not only that, it's the music also. The music just hits home with every sense there. It's just amazing, and also the fact how the character plays, how he's built up, because it takes into consideration the old, not to say the old, but like the some classical psychological theories about how our psyche is structured. Like Inland Empire, you have the old reptilian brain, etc., etc., etc. And all of those, you can they interact with you when you are posed with difficulties. So I like to play characters in these kinds of role-playing games that are very mentally focused. So I decided the first playthrough that I'm going to create my guy and put all his points into mental only. So I have a longer conversation then with my reptilian brain, which tries to say that go back into the darkness, you don't want to live, etc., etc. And I fight him and argue with him until he lets me wake up. So my character wakes up in a room that's totally trashed. There's empty wine bottles all over. So I take the character and goes into the bathroom, looks in the mirror, and then I'm presented with like the very first internalization. I'm a disco cop.
Okay, so it's from Hobo Cop to Disco Cop.
The Hobo Cop comes later.
Okay.
But yeah. So the kind of thing is he's a disco star. And he puts on his clothes, and before you can exit the room, you have to grab the tie. The tie is stuck on the ceiling fan overhead. And as I don't pay attention to the health bar of my character, he has 1 hit point. So I don't see exactly where you have to click to get him to turn off the ceiling fan. But I see the tie, so I mark the tie and click for him to interact. That is, try to jump and get it. He fails the die roll and dies.
Okay, yeah. Instant punishment, old style.
Yeah. That's
I would say
just like King's Quest.
This is one of the better modern games I've ever seen, and by far I would say this qualifies not only as a classic, but it qualifies for as many awards as it can get. And lastly, there's another game also that's definitely a good candidate for being retro, like modern retro. It's called The Ascent. Me and you have played it a little bit, Coreus. Yeah. I think that one has it in it to definitely be called that because of the cyberpunk style, but also because it has so much like dark wave features in it that it just, to me, it feels like it's like an old modernized Amiga shooter game, pretty much.
Twin stick shooter in many ways, but sprinkled with a lot of details and vistas that look pretty nice. I have a couple more. I actually, as you were talking, I remembered more. I'll link this one because this is an incredible one. It's Scald Against the Black Priory.
Okay.
If you never heard about it, that's fine, but this amazes on so many levels. It harkens back to the EGA, CGA days where you have a band of adventurers, I think it's 6 or 8, and you move around in an isometric way, similar to Ultima Pagan 7, which is very popular. But the mood and the setting and the amount of customization and interactability is so modern. You don't expect to things like move a cabinet. In the old days, you would just open the cabinet and that was it. But here you can move it. You can inspect it from the backside if there's something written there. Just small tidbits that add to the modernization of like it makes sense now to be able to inspect on the side instead of just the front, for instance, of a cabinet. Just to take a silly example. And it's you start on a ship. Everything is gritty, and then you move. You make landfall, and the art style is just fantastic. Whoever made this deserves praise. It harkens back to early 90s CRPGs.
You know what that actually reminds me about? It's an old NES game called Shadowgate. And the reason why I remember it's because it was in Swedish.
Okay.
I think it's more Eye of the Beholder, but still.
Yeah, absolutely. That was an awesome game.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, still. I have 2 more, and I'll shut up.
Okay.
It's a similar vein, I think. It's the original Stronghold. Stronghold is a strategic game where you're cast out from your kingdom, where you have to compete against other. Let's see. What was the story here? I forget. It's been some time since I played it. You're in a medieval England. The king has betrayed his treacherous lords, and the realm is on the collapse. So you have to scatter. The forces are scattered, so you have to reunite them and your kingdom against 4 evil lords. This is. It looks like this. It's been remastered and stuff like that, but it still has that core essence, feeling and look, but with a lot of modernization, things like widescreen, quick save, and stuff like that. Things that just makes so much sense. And then I haven't played this. I'm curious whether or not to add it to the list. It's the new Alone in the Dark. I absolutely love the original Alone in the Dark, and the new one seems to put some action into the mix. But the original, of course, I'll send you a screenshot. Looked like this. Let's see. Where you walked around a mansion and had to figure out what was going on. There was, of course, some Indian occult occurrences happening, and the new Alone in the Dark looks a bit.
Okay, like that graphic has not aged well. It looks like.
Well, it was very polygon, but still
very polygon.
But if you compare it to the new one, you're still in an evil house in the Derceto manner. The intro to the original Alone in the Dark is iconic, where they arrive at the house and there's a frog jumping over the road.
You know, that lady has duck lips, and it is what was from the 90s. Really weird.
She has duck lips?
Yeah, look at her.
Yeah, maybe. Really polygynous lips. Where it take up a large portion of the face.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I guess I think Baldur's Gate 3. I haven't played it. I know Baron has played it. I think that needs to be mentioned. Obviously, it's very popular. But
I'm getting there when you're done.
So I mean, I don't want to drag it out too much, but I think that game is getting a lot of praise for like both how Baldur's Gate was, because Baldur's Gate the original is fantastic. Just the environment and the music and all that, and Baldur's Gate 3 just puts it up several notches with freedom and see where you can go if you do this or do that.
I completely agree with that aspect. I've been having so much fun in that game with one of my characters. I made him specifically so that he's able to talk his way out of every encounter. So basically the only thing that he has had to kill is the devil and one of the bosses. The rest, he actually three of the bosses. Like you have the boss fights that are part of the story. You have to do those. But all the other encounters, he actually managed to talk himself out of. And that's kind of important.
Yeah. And I mean, like in that game, you can just kill off everyone and the game still figures out a way to make the story progress from what I have heard. And that's quite a feat.
Yeah, many modern games has this. Some characters are unkillable because it would kind of destroy the whole story if they were not around.
Yeah, but Baldur's Gate 3 would have none of that. And it's just like, that's fine.
Yeah.
Can I take one more game? Super short. Yeah. It's called Foxtails, and it's a modern game created by some Ukrainians. It isn't done yet, and they're trying to fight making this game, although they have had some problems with their village being taken over Russia. So it's kind of a game, I don't know if it's ever going to be completed, but Foxtails is a game where it's a point-and-click adventure. You're a young fox woman who walks around and tries to find clues on how to do various things. I don't know how it ends because it isn't done yet, but it's super like 8-bit graphics and looks very, very nice.
Oh, I've heard about it, but I just checked Steam and it says a foxtail.
No, that's not that one.
That's not the one.
Okay.
It's called Foxtails. Tails as
Foxtails. Yeah. Okay.
It's I think that's some kind of shrubbery or something. I don't know.
But it's like DuckTales.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's an old joke because it's a fox girl and they have tails. I guess.
Foxtails, but I cannot find it on.
Let me see if I can bring it up.
Yeah.
I think I kind of. Is it a children's game or is it?
I don't know. It's. I think it isn't.
Define children.
I find like.
I think it's for everyone. I think it's a pretty harmless game. It's not like PG-13.
But it harkens back to the classic point-and-click games.
Absolutely, that's kind of what's making.
But I think I know what you're talking about. I think I've seen it. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see what it looks like.
While he's looking, I have one I want to mention. I think this one, you actually agree with Coreus. Alan Wake.
Yeah, well, it has that original horror, like the vibes of Alone in the Dark and stuff like that.
But I mean the music. The music in that game, oh my god, the music. Like the soundtrack in itself, just effing wow.
But I mean, like it feels. How does it feel retro? I would guess like the horror sense and.
There you go.
The horror, yeah. The horror. Sorry, we were just discussing one. We'll get back to that. Go ahead, DJ.
Yeah, I actually found the game. It's kind of hard to find. It's a very
tail,
unknown
like
one.
the end tail.
Yeah, it's a joke.
The furry
so,
tail.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of the thing. What I like about it is that it's a really harmless point and click that doesn't really offend anyone. It's kind of cute in a way, and the graphics really nice down with backgrounds. I'm kind of sucker for a good background in a game.
I definitely agree. This, you know what this reminds me of?
No?
This reminds me of Legend of Kyrandia.
Yeah, that one. Yeah, that's awesome. Love that.
All of the 3 games there are...
Yeah. I think the second one is the funniest because it has more variety in it in a way.
Yeah, and the vistas there. Here's one where you travel on the dragon. I mean, it's various.
I love that crazy jester that he simply lost
one?
his. Yeah, no, that would be the third one.
Oh, the third one.
Yeah, that's when you play the jester and try to clear his name. He was the guy who killed the king and the queen in the intro of the first game.
Yeah. This game that was when they started to add this was the early rendered 3D times.
Mm-hmm.
So you would instead of pixel art, you would have like semi-bad, semi-good 3D.
Yeah, early 3D has not aged well. Duck lips.
Yeah, it has not.
I remember, but
Foxtail looked very like an old.
Yeah, absolutely.
Old adventure game.
I hope they actually complete it because I look forward to play through the whole game.
Have you played the Siberia games?
No.
Those are pretty. Also, if you enjoy a good story and point and click, but I digress. What about some music? What do you think about that, gentlemen?
I think we lost all listeners. They have tuned into something else.
Well, it's just special.
Let's give them some music to get them back.
Yeah, absolutely.
And this time, Scrap Metal featuring Arachno wants to throw us into space with Jupiter Girl.
Now it's time for a very, very engaging subject. It's PC versus gaming console.
Let's start the fight.
How old is this war?
Yes, it's war between the PC master race and the gaming console nerds. I don't know. Yes.
War never changes.
Yeah, but we've seen this. I mean, I'm an old PC gamer. I don't really subscribe to this PC master race. That's a rather nasty joke.
Yeah.
And you guys seem to be more versed in gaming consoles. Am I right?
I genuinely find myself mostly at the computer games, but I do like the Nintendo for some reason.
I have, it's mostly PC. I have PlayStation. I actually have all PlayStations. PlayStation 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And I don't actually sold the Xbox. I never had the original one, but I have bought those handhelds that can emulate a lot of the systems. I have a Trim UI, and I also have something with 365. I forget what it is, but it basically looks like a Game Boy, but you can play PlayStation games. So I can play Silent Hill or Resident Evil or Spyro the Dragon on those kind of handheld devices. But gaming console, I mean, they will never catch up to PC.
I don't think so either. But on the other hand, if you just think about it, I remember all the load high shenanigans we went through. It was like, okay, I can't start a game in MS-DOS because there's not enough memory, so I have to use this load high command, and I screw everything up, and I try again, and finally I get it to work. By that time, whoever had a gaming console has completed the game.
Pretty much.
I also remember custom auto-exec bot files.
Yeah. DOS equals high. Yeah, it's on something.
DOS equals high, UMB.
Yeah, exactly. I remember that horrible thing.
And also, what's the difference between expanded and extended memory space?
Yeah, well, you have to ask some bigger nerd than me. I don't know.
But you had this game needs 8 megabytes of EMS, and it needs that, and you have 16 RAM available, so 16 megs of RAM available, but it was configured as extended memory, not expanded. So you didn't have enough memory to run it after all.
And it never stopped telling you that. It was always... And I remember the big problem with MS-DOS was that it was running in real mode, which meant that it didn't have access to all the memory spaces. You had to use some kind of emulator to switch it to protected mode, where it could access the memory. Yeah. And that was like, DOS... Yeah, exactly that one. And you were messing around with it to get Duke Nukem to start. Yes, that was times.
Also, that was because you also had to paint for larger than 320 by 200 resolutions. It actually composed it by a multitude of 320 by 200 screens that were placed in a that was composing up the screen. So when you scaled out to 640 by 480, there was something like with the where you had a multitude of these 320 by 2 something. So the DOS4GB allowed you to write to the screen buffers of each virtual screen before it went out onto the screen card. And I looked at the reference documentation after I grew up and became capable of programming safely. I just looked at that and thanked all that was high and holy that I didn't have to read and learn that shit to make a living. Because that was horrible.
Yeah, we don't want that back.
I don't remember or I don't recall if you remember RAM Doubler.
Yeah, absolutely. But that was a scam.
It was a scam.com, indeed. I'm just reading here on how it worked, but
I think it kind of screwed around with the paging file, adding more paging space or something like that.
It compressed and set aside your RAM as a buffer, and then used like things that were less used were compressed away.
Basically, they took the general idea of a ROM disk and just flipped it upside down and didn't tell you.
Well, these days, I think a RAM doubler would be like a gold bar thing.
Yeah. The memory is super expensive. It's.
I actually saw. Not to digress, but I saw now a price for 64 gigabyte RAM had passed 50,000 Norwegian kroner.
15,
50, not 15. We were talking earlier 15, which was ludicrous, but now I'm talking about 50.
Yeah.
So it's
But to get back to the core story, the war has always been the PC guys says that we have better graphics, better sound, we can buy new hardware and make it much better. Whereas the gaming people on consoles say, yeah, but we always play the game. We just start up and it boots immediately and you don't have to kind of screw around with the settings. We just want to play the game.
And I mean, how old is this war?
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, I think this kind of starts with the PlayStation and the first Xbox, because if you think about the Nintendo and stuff like that, so you didn't have the same saturation. Like Nintendo games did not exist on PC and vice versa.
No,
for the most of them. So if you want to play Mega Man 3. You had to have a Nintendo.
Yeah.
And in that way, there was you needed to have both if you wanted to play, let's say, Eye of the Beholder and Mega Man. There was no crossover. Once the game started to appear on both, like PlayStation 2 at least, you would have Grand Theft Auto 3 on both Windows and consoles. Then it makes sense for them to okay, I'm not going to use Windows. I'm just going to use PlayStation because I get all my games that I want to play there.
Another thing I remember.
So, and also in the beginning, sorry.
Yeah. Please proceed.
Go ahead.
No, okay.
I mean, in the early 90s and late 80s, the Nintendo and the consoles were still. I mean, they were taking over in a way because computers were really expensive and few people had them. So there wasn't much of a war. If you wanted entertainment, you used a console. If you wanted to do your spreadsheet, you used Apple II or Amiga
PC,
or Commodore or something. Some kind of PC.
As far as I can recall, it was with the advent of the 8286 and the introduction of the 8386, that marks the turning point where computers could be used for gaming and not for they could be used previously, but I mean the graphics took an upswing. It started improving, going from a semi-linear improvement graph to a more exponential one. It was around the 286, 386 switch time. I think that I would put that in at around 1989, 1991, somewhere between there. But previously, it's right that you say that Nintendo, it kind of had established amongst the consoles a very established position, but it was mostly because of their you know how all the Nintendo games had this stamp on the carton that said Nintendo approved or something like that.
Yes.
Not licensed by, but it was approved by. It had not only been licensed, etc. It was quality assurance approved.
And it had another dimension to it. It had a key and lock chip, meaning that it would not work to create your own game and try to run it in the NES. And that key and lock chip was cracked and broken in 2006. Before that, the Nintendo was safe. There was no way to kind of cheat and release your own subpar games without the quality assurance. That is kind of why Nintendo succeeded so well.
I agree. And as far as I seem to recall...
Oh, you're talking about the seal of quality. That's the one.
Yeah, the seal of quality, yeah. But as far as I can recall, as you said, Coreus, and I think you are spot on placing like the start of the war, formally speaking, at the introduction of the... at the time of the PlayStation 1. However, I do seem to recall that it started like around 1993, 1994. It wasn't necessarily a war, but it was like a somewhat more entrenched stance between like the gaming console owners and the PC game owners about who had the best systems. It started off like kids bragging, hey, I have a better set of games than you will ever have. It kind of started off around there, but it didn't become like in the lack of a better term here, a weaponized war, as we have come to know this later, where people are actually
very adamant about.
Yeah, but pretty much. That particular step, when it stepped into the seriousness range, that happened around PlayStation 1 when that was introduced. But also it was because the computers evolved spec-wise up to a point where during that time, it was also the time when having emulators was justifiable when it came to like CPU requirements and speed, etc., etc.
I mean, emulators at that time didn't really exist. You could emulate basic 8-bit systems. Bleem was the first one that could emulate copyrighted or proper like regular games on PlayStation. That's the first one, Bleem.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I'm trying to get at. Is that you could emulate Nintendos, but only the 8-bits, and that happened because you had the availability in like the PC hardware that could support that. At that time when the PlayStation entered the market, which was just like coincidentally. However, that marks where you had the war actually starting to become visible. As time progressed, the PC capabilities grew exponentially, making it possible, like Bleem, to emulate even copyright protected games and doing multi-platforms. I even recall several times that people wanted to emulate PlayStation games, but it was too taxing on their system, so you couldn't get proper results, and it would lag, it would etc., because the PlayStation was so new in its architecture. But things escalated above that.
So what you have to remember here is that back in the 80s, having a computer was a massive investment, meaning that it would be the rich kids that would have a computer, or if you're really lucky, a computer and a console. And in those senses, there were like people would go to other kids' houses to play games because they didn't have it themselves. So either you would have none of them, or you would have one of them. So there was in that sense, the game releases were like very isolated. Very rarely would you have cross-pollination where a game would be available on the PC, like the 1942 series on the Atari. it wasn't available on the PC. Some of them were, but still, it was very obscure. And remember, also games were expensive and not easy to get a hold of. You had to like either BBS call or send like a mail, a regular mail, a letter somewhere to order it. And then as the late 80s approaches, Nintendo takes more and more over after the game console crash in, was it 85 or something? 83, right. So Nintendo is basically prominent in the area, and Sega slowly arriving. So there was, I think in the early 90s, there was a competition between those who had consoles. I have Nintendo, we have Sega, they have Sega, my Nintendo is much better than yours. There you would have cross-pollination. You would have things like Captain Hook. That would be available on Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis. So people would compete, or like, this is a better one. The PC starts to get better because you have Moore's law, that just doubling the computing power, making it more and more powerful for every year that goes through, while the consoles are stagnant until there's a jump or a leap in processing power. And I think that, from what I recall, like Monkey Island, of course, was very popular, and that's 91 or something. And you didn't have Monkey Island on any of the other consoles. You would have Sonic, or you would have Castlevania or something like that. But they weren't directly competing. I think the competition there would be that we have the better games, not that the game looks better on my system. But now, once you enter the millennia shift, the games were available on the same system. So then you more have like, should I have a computer or should I have a console? Because as you said, you wouldn't in the early 2000s with Windows 98 and the Windows XP and stuff like that, you had to configure a lot of bullshit and handle IRQ interrupts and all that kind of business in order to make shit run. While your friends were just inserting the Grand Theft Auto 3 CD in their PlayStation and off they went.
Yeah, that's true.
So I think that's at least that's my take on the case. DJ Daemon, what do you think? You have more experience with the Commodore and the Amiga, and like, what's your impression there regarding the slow popularity of or the growing popularity of consoles in the 80s?
It was hard to say, really. I mean, in the 80s there was one console that mattered, and that was the NES. That was the big one everybody wanted. The C64 was riding high, and Amiga was doing inroads, and it competed with the Atari. Then the whole gaming era changed in the 90s, because suddenly you had the situation where PC and Mac took over, and all the gaming PCs, not PCs, but gaming computers, they simply, Atari and Amiga, they went away. So then it was PC versus the gaming console. I've seen the whole thing change, and there was a number of consoles that failed. I don't know if you remember those CDI, and stuff like that. Never did it. Commodore had its own failure too, actually. It's called CD-TV and CD32.
That was an extension, wasn't it, for the Sega? CD32?
No, CD32 was an Amiga with a CD-ROM. It was...
yeah.
They tried to make...
AVGN with that.
Yeah, the angry video nerd, you know.
Video game nerd,
yeah. Exactly. He burnt one CD32 in a container with a flamethrower or something. So
where it belongs.
Yeah, obviously he hated it. That's hilarious. Yeah, I have one of these myself, but it's kind of in my cellar. I haven't unpacked it since I moved here.
The ill-fated Commodore.
Yeah. I always come back to that. But that's kind of the thing. I mean, the gaming computer, so to speak, it was no more in 1992-93. I remember Atari made a last hurrah with its Falcon. It never ever took off. It was a really nice computer. It was the first Atari that could beat an Amiga. I don't say that lightly, but
Atari Falcon.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I mean, like 10 years too late, though.
Yeah, something like that, or at least a few years too late. It was, and that's kind of the thing. And when the whole dust had settled, it was like Nintendo, Sega, it was PC, it was Mac, and it's kind of like that.
And I think, that's like, a beginning, right, mid 90s.
Yeah.
Where the computer, like introduction of the CD-ROM was huge.
Yeah,
because
and this thing that was FMV, full motion video, it really didn't age well. It looks horrible.
No, I mean, it has a charm. I think it has a charm.
It sure does. It sure does. Oh, speaking about that, contradiction. That's also, by the way, just a good old retro modern game, I would say, because of the video, full motion video or video acting or what you want to call it.
Yeah, spot the liar, contradiction.
Yeah. God, that was a good one.
All right, gentlemen, we have to start wrapping this one up. It's been really a blast. It's, I think this is the third time we're doing this, or is it the second? I don't remember really.
I think third sounds correct.
Yeah, I think so. So
you have to check the podcast archives.
yeah, I can do that.
Oh wait, you can't do that on Spotify.
Oh yeah, I walked right into that.
Thankfully, you don't have to. We're available.
And I actually just checked out here on Spotify. Half of the episodes are still there. It hasn't really nuked them yet, but they're gonna do that.
You can listen to all episodes on ericade.radio.
Yeah, exactly. That's probably where you want to go. Or some other podcast player if you have a mobile phone.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yes.
So, what song are we playing next, by the way?
And wrapping this show up is /ATD, a Russian artist. And it's a song called 8-Bit Tatarstan.
I think we should add one more, end with one Christmas song as well. And doing it on the spot, I think JPK and Tracker with Christmas Silence, the 2K stereo edit, and Christmas 2 from Jazz Jackrabbit Holiday Here 94 is those two, I think, would round off this very nicely.
coming up next week, I hope, or maybe the week after that. It would be the third actually, Amiga-only podcast episode where we only play Amiga musics for at least 1 hour. Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Merry Christmas, everyone.